I think in my head, I was always going to build a team, but it was not my priority, right? I was like, I'm making money and I'm, able to have my autonomy of time and I can do what I want. It was a first time business owner and it wasn't fun every day, but I had really been like, okay, I see where I'm making an impact. And I had put together, I think it was going to be a 2-day retreat. And I was doing it the way I wanted. It was a giant house in the ocean because that's where I like to be. So I wanted to attract people that would feel comfortable in that place to do their strategic planning. And I sold 14 tickets and I was going all out. Like we had a private chef coming to cook for dinner every night and everybody had their own rooms. It was a giant house, right? Like we had, put a lot of thought to making a real personal experience for them to come together. And then in the middle of the night, 2 weeks before, you get the call that says, okay, I know you're in Virginia and your parents are in Arizona, but you need to get to Arizona like the fastest you can. We're keeping him in a coma until you get here so that you'll be able to say goodbye. Like this was not maybe, this was happening.
Gosh. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Curveball. I am Heather Campbell, and today I'm with one of my favorite people in the world, the lady with the lips. We were talking about those at the beginning. That sounds disgusting, actually.
It's an unusual compliment, but I'll take it.
Okay, yeah. It's true. Yes. And because I really loved her lipstick color today. So this is Talmar Anderson, everyone. She's amazing. I'm so excited for you to meet her. She knows exactly what it feels like to have life pull the rug out right from under you. Picture this. She had her very first retreat is just 2 weeks away. Everything is lined up. And then her dad dies. Like, it was absolutely devastating. Not only did she have to cancel the retreat and lose all that money, but the whole experience kept her away from hosting in-person events, not for a little while, for years and years. It slowed her business. Isn't that just so crazy how just one event can just make you so stop in your tracks? It slowed her business, but then it ultimately slowed your business, tested your resilience, and then made her question everything. But here's the thing about Talmar, if you can't tell, like already, she doesn't just take life's punches. She turns them into lessons. That tough time ended up teaching her one of the most important lessons of her career. Your team is your safety net, especially on your worst days. Now, as the CEO of Boss HQ, Talmar, you're just like, preach. The CEO of Boss HQ, Talmar helps business owners build teams that can handle anything because she knows exactly what it's like when life throws the worst at you. Oh, and before she became a team building powerhouse, she also sold cars, which I think is so funny. So clearly she knows how to get people on board. So welcome to Curveball, Talmar.
Oh my gosh, Heather, I am so excited to be on the show.
Oh my gosh, I am too. So let's start here. Tell me a little bit about the retreat, like what happened, and then we'll talk about the way it shaped your it
was really interesting. I was a solopreneur. I had left managing law firms, so I had always been part of larger companies, and I think I in my head, I was always going to build a team, but it was not my priority, right? I was like, I'm making money and I'm, able to have my autonomy of time and I can do what I want. It was a first time business owner and it wasn't fun every day, but I had really been like, okay, I see where I'm making an impact. And I had put together, I think it was going to be a 2-day retreat. And I was doing it the way I wanted. It was a giant house in the ocean because that's where I like to be. So I wanted to attract people that would feel comfortable in that place to do their strategic planning. And I sold 14 tickets and I was going all out. Like we had a private chef coming to cook for dinner every night and everybody had their own rooms. It was a giant house, right? Like we had, put a lot of thought to making a real personal experience for them to come together. And then in the middle of the night, 2 weeks before, you get the call that says, okay, I know you're in Virginia and your parents are in Arizona, but you need to get to Arizona like the fastest you can. We're keeping him in a coma until you get here so that you'll be able to say goodbye. Like This was not maybe. This
Oh
was
my
happening.
gosh. Right.
And so I had a little
Right.
boy at the time, and my husband was working. And so we were trying to decide. So I decided to take my son with me. No, I didn't take my son during this trip. He was going to stay home, but I got on a plane and I got out there in time to have a beautiful and grateful goodbye with my dad. So that was lovely. But you have to fly back. We weren't prepared, right? He wasn't healthy, but we did nothing to prepare for it. And so not just losing
Right.
the clients, not just losing the money,
Like,
but all the deposits. You can't ask for that back from the businesses. Now we're too close to events. And
right.
my mindset was gone, and it was really damaging. And I didn't have somebody that could facilitate it. I didn't have even an assistant to coordinate contacting all these people. Like, I had to do all of it. Like, I didn't have anybody on my team at that time. So at the same time, I'm mourning my dad,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it was not a good day. It was not a good couple of months. Right.
Right.
But it took me, years to figure out that the trauma of that was keeping me from even trying to do live events again. And anybody who knows live events, they're hard.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of, like, I just put together a launch list, like, and there are 51 things on that list of things you have to do. And then each one of those has like 7 to 20 tactics attached to it. So that list becomes like 1,000 things like you have to do. And so one of the things I think is so interesting is, like, we didn't anticipate, like, I knew my dad wasn't healthy, like, but you didn't have like a contingent, like my dad dying contingency, like in your planning, like, so talk to me a little bit about what kept you on the side, because obviously you still kept on feeling that nudge to do something, right? So
are you talking about the business, or
did you
do a live event?
To do a live event, because no, like to do a live event. Yeah. Like, it's because how many years were you just like, I should do this? And you're like, no. Was it like, I really want to do one?
It was,
no. What was it like?
The fear factor of one, could I sell it? Could I fill it? What do they want to come to? Like, I kept using business excuses about why I shouldn't do it now. And then I told myself, no, I'm just going to be on other people's stages. Like, I was adamant that was a business decision, not a fear trauma decision, right? I was like, no, I don't want to build the stage. I'm just going to be on other people's stages. And the truth of the matter is, I freaking love live interaction, right? When I can be with the group and they're getting those ahas and they're really connecting with what you're saying, that's just magic. I know I'm making that impact, and I know they're going to leave with actionable insight. Like, I love that. And of course I love the ego of the response. Everybody really learns from it, and they all follow up with me, and it's the bee's knees. But doing in-person events, you really get to spend deeper time with smaller a number of people, right? So, like, I just came back from a gig in Las Vegas last week, where I was speaking to a conference, and it was literally, Heather, talk about an ego trip. It was standing room only. It was over 300 people, standing room only. Literally, someone came up to me the day after and said, do you know that there were people that couldn't get in the room? So they went to other rooms, pulled chairs, and sat in the hallway. And I was like, that's awesome, right? Like, people are hungry for the information. And so when you know that they want this information, how can you get it out there? So I, love the energy, and that was a draw for me. So I had to find a way to get past it. And so we're doing a live event in January. It's going to be a new annual event, but it has been scary and stressful, and it's a lot of freaking money before you've done any sales, right? Like, there's just so much behind it that makes you want to say no. But I also know it's where I can make the biggest, deepest impact for each of those individuals, right? Because if we're spending 3 days together on this one topic, come on.
Right. I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I love it's the difference between watching a video of your favorite band and actually seeing them in concert. Huge difference. It's like, but I do also think it's really interesting. Like, I call that voice, like, when I work with my students, there's always like a sidelining voice, right? And so people call it the ego, people call so it's sort of that ego voice. And the ego, I think, is always trying to keep you one above or one below. Like, it's never going to let you sort of be in homeostasis. And so it's so interesting to me how it shows up, because sometimes it shows up as such a reasonable thing. Like how you were saying, I had all these business reasons, but it's the thing that kept you separate from the thing that you were passionate. I mean, you could even tell, like, I don't even know. I have a bouncy chair, right? So I can bounce, but I don't think you have a bouncy chair. And you were like moving and talking and just like, yeah. I mean, that's how excited you were about talking about live events. And so what finally tell me about the first live event you did after the canceled retreat.
I'm going to say, so my father passed in 2016, and I'm going to say, I think it was like 2019-ish. Before COVID, and we were doing, so we started doing workshops in Savannah, Georgia, and it was small form. Like I never wanted more than 15 people in the room, and it was very specific trainings. And the truth is, we never were at 15. Like, and again, I feel like that was a block. Like I was like, oh, we've got 6, it's fine. Like we've got 8, it's fine. Like I just was, there's something in me that was holding it back. And, but it was always, I'd go into those trainings and just being in person and like being in the room with them when they get the aha and they literally stand up from their chair and start jumping up and down. And I'm like, oh my God, Rhonda, are you okay? And she's all like, no, I'm excited about hiring this person. Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, what happened? She literally jumped up from her chair and started jumping up and down. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, I'm just excited to go hire this person. I get it. I see how this is a real person that I can get and come on my team. I was like, fantastic. I haven't seen the physical manifestation of that joy yet. So that was super fun. Right? You can't get that from virtual training.
Yes, totally. So you said that there was something. Yeah. So you said that there was something holding you back. So how, because I feel like you figured out a way through that obstacle. Yeah. So what was it, do you think, ultimately?
I just, it's fear of failure in a financial way, right? Like it was a huge financial hit. It was huge because it wasn't just the money. And again, it was the money. It wasn't even about the live event. It was the culmination of a life event that took me months to recover from, right? When you're not prepared for a loss, I could show up to work, but that doesn't mean my brain is there or my essence or my joy is definitely not there, right? I'm in some other place in space. Your mind is slower to do things. And I'm not good at slow, people. I got to tell you, I want to move fast. And so Heather's like, she gets that, right?
Yeah.
And so it was hard. It was hard. And so that impacted my business a lot.
Yeah. Right. Like, I remember after my mom died, I just did not have any get up and go. I had just, and it took, like, I look at the work that I did, that's, for about 9 months afterwards, I was just, and I was bad too. Like I missed some deadline. I was obviously depressed. I literally had I had like 6 months of laundry in my closet. Like she died in June. She died in May. I came home in June. And then at Thanksgiving, my daughter's like, Mom, we got to put your clothes away. And I'm like, because it was just so overwhelming. Right. And so you sort of know like your life is falling apart, but then you do still have to show up for work. And I just remember feeling like, I just look at the work. Of course I did like good work, but it took every ounce of energy for me just to try to show up like, hey, it's Heather, And so I can really relate. And then when you just don't have, my dad had the same thing happened to my dad with my dad, that I was on a business trip. I just landed in Seattle. My dad lives in Naples, Florida. And I had to literally planes, trains, and automobile my way to see him. And they kept him alive with the stuff that Michael Jackson used to use. Michael Jackson used to take the stuff that puts people in medically induced comas to sleep. Just like, wait, isn't that what Michael? I'm like, wow,
medical.
That's amazing. So, so what finally? Okay, so, but you got to this point, sort of slow and steady, but you were still sort of having this sort of rationality. Like if you didn't hit your goals, you're just like, well, this
I was
is good.
Keeping it small.
So like that seemed to be sort of the thing, like holding you back. So how did you figure out that you were keeping things small?
How did I figure that out? I think that I just saw that our clients wanted more from us, right? I identified, our life, in the business, our
right.
life cycle went from 1 year to 3 years and longer for some, but the average is about 3 years now for our clients that work with us, and so they were
Amazing.
just in a different stage. And as they were at a different stage, we saw that in the market, there was nobody addressing something. So it was a combination of a hole in the market, right? Training on how to actually hire and make sure you set up a second in command. It's beyond hiring for a manager, which in and of itself is a challenge. Nobody is really talking about the relationship between the CEO slash business owner and the second in command, who has to walk and talk and live and breathe with you in mind. They have to have your back, and it's a different hire, and it's a different relationship, and it's a different step up. So once we identified that market and we saw that it wasn't just our clients, that it was a huge hole in the universe, and we had people that were done with our 3-year cycle and they were looking for a way to still be connected with me and with things with our company. But they were like, yeah, but what do we need? I don't know. And so we thought, okay, well, let's try this live event idea. And the sponsors came on really fast. So that was great. The tickets are slow because unfortunately people are freaked out about live events still from COVID, but they're ready. I believe the market is ready to be in a room with other humans connecting and learning. And it's a fundamental alignment with my company, right? The idea is it's about the people you let influence your success. That's literally what Boss HQ is about. So it's a vetted room. Not everybody can come. You have to be at a certain stage in your business growth. You've got to be committed to hiring that manager that's going to be the day-to-day ops person for you while you are going big visionary boss level.
Right.
And so it felt very aligned with both the gap in the marketplace, the audience that we draw, and something that I find joy in delivering, which is always in-person opportunities.
Oh, right. Well, I went through your training and I want to talk about how building teams is your absolute, that's your gift. It's your specialty. It's like your passion. You just love it. And you have such a novel, I've worked corporately. I've hired, I've fired, I've hired well. I've hired
all
poorly,
have,
just all the things. And oh my God. And so I went through one of your trainings and I just hired a VA this is my third VA because I had 2 VAs that just absolutely did not work out. And part of it was I did not vet them nearly as well. So you have a very novel approach to how to hire that doesn't really even start with
everybody thinks it starts with an employment ad, but there's a whole step ahead of that. And it goes with the idea that every person we let on our team, whether an independent contractor, an employee, or a vendor, even these are all hires, whether you're hiring coaches or marketing companies, these are all hires. And so it behooves our small business growth to take the time to create what success looks like before we go out there. And that informs how we create our hiring sequence so that we can attract the right people. We can make them prove there's a chance and it's reasonable to expect them to do this job and get the results we need from them before we get them on the payroll. And it's about aligning them purposely with you, your business, your clients, and the position.
What I think was so helpful about that in my last hire is that I really genuinely like everybody. So I am, for someone who's for someone, I think I'm pretty savvy. People can just tell me something. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
You fall in like with people.
Absolutely see and support everyone. So yes. Yeah. And so by laying out this success criteria, what does it look like? So then that was my job description was this. And I literally had this is what success looks like. And so then people could say, wow, she seems whatever. That's not for me. But the people who are up for it, and the person I hired she was just like, this is right up my alley. She's like, please don't hire, I am the person for you. And she was so clever and also just so ambitious that I really loved. And I felt like giving her that structure really helped her understand. And then she comes right into the job. It's exactly, and I made for like I really organized onboarding for her to learn about me. And it's just been amazing. So I know I was thinking, I was like, Talmar at Boss HQ would be like, good job. So talk a little bit more about like, someone, because I bet there are a lot of people out there who like fall in like with people. And then they're just like, oh my gosh, I like everybody. So, I mean, do you have do you work with a lot of people like that? Recovering people pleasers, the most I guess, like
popular self-identifier for most of our clients are that they feel like they're too nice as a boss, as a manager and a business owner. So I think that comes from a place of wanting to work with people we like. And that's not wrong, but it's about getting clear on what we need from people that we're working with. It's not just, I like to hang out with people who drink bourbon, which we all know Talmar likes bourbon, but that's not helping my business. What I like to work with are people that can absorb information quickly, because my joy is talking very fast. I love being in the flow and talking quickly. Right. But if I have a team that needs me to slow down.
I know. Don't you always think, Talmar, that don't you always think like if things went completely sideways, we could absolutely start an auctioneer business?
Yeah, I think I could probably get there if I needed to. I'd actually have to practice, but it would be fun. That would be a fun challenge.
Totally, yeah. I would. I actually met an auctioneer. Yeah. I met a cattle auctioneer in Nebraska, and I'm like, prove it.
You rocked your sock.
Oh my God. It was absolutely, it was like a song. I was like,
I know. I knew the rapper.
Fast. Okay. No. Okay. So you like to talk fast. So if somebody had to slow down. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's why I think like some of the worst advice people can give you is hire someone who's not like you.
Excellent.
Like hire your because I remember hiring somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I also realized like I work a lot better when I remember like when I was interviewing somebody and she's like, what are you looking for in your next hire? And I'm like, honestly, the least amount of change required by me. Like, and I meant that.
But that's what my process does. That's why it works for you.
Well, because like So, okay. So tell me about when you're just just talk to me about that.
I think the thing that people, so there's finding people that you like, but people that like to work the way you do. And that's where our process helps people identify those success markers are not just about identifying what the position requires, maybe an experience that you don't have. So that would be different than you 100%, right? I need somebody who's, got this experience that is not what I have. That is not, if you're a creative, you still need a bookkeeper. And you
like
do,
an accountant.
Right? Those are different minds and different humans and different skill sets. But we might be able to have integrity in common if that was one of your core values. Or we might be able to have the ability to absorb information quickly.
Right.
But the truth is, everybody that has that skill set is not going to have the alignment with the culture, right? Those are the culture is the one that corporations talk about all the time, right? It's your core values and your mission and your vision statement, right? Those are the culture. That's how we agree on things and how we align with where we're going with this company. And that is absolutely critical. It's just not the only alignment. So if you're lucky, most business owners are looking at that and the experience, but there's still two more alignments that the majority of business owners and people hiring do not pay attention to. One is customer alignment. This one is so critical, people. Please, goodness, ask if they like, respect, have value with the people you're serving. Because even if they're not in front of them on a regular basis, if they don't fundamentally have respect for who you're serving, they're never going to perform at 100%. It absolutely is going to affect their tenure because if they don't really truly believe, I don't know, if you support the veterans of the U.S. military, right? And you think the military is some bad machine that's stomping on humans,
right?
Even if they're great at programming, it's just not going to work. In the end, it's going to feel misaligned and they'll never quite be in there with you. So making sure they align with your clients is one. And then the last one is the one that small business owners are afraid to think about. And this is the part you're talking about. I don't want to change. Well, you might have to learn how to be a better manager, which is communication skills and understanding how to protect your business and set people up for success. Hello, Boss HQ, come see us. But the real thing is, I need to know myself.
Right.
How do I like to work? Do I want to have early morning meetings because that's when my brain is fastest? Do I want to meet in the evening for brainstorm? Do I like us all to come together and brainstorm? Or do I want everybody siloed and us just emailing some information? How do we like to give feedback and get feedback? How do we like to spend our time differently and together? And so if you start to understand the kind of workflows that you enjoy, we can attract team members that like to work there too. And that's when the joy factor, that's what we call it, goes through the roof. Now it doesn't matter whether you're having a good day or a bad day. You're also aligned that everybody's on board to set you up for success.
I love that. Like, I just love that cultural alignment. Like, my past history, I used to be in corporate communications. So internal communications was so huge. And we had core values that, we had a large national company, luxury real estate. And it was amazing how the core values, like, we were really, really clear about like how they are. We would give examples of them in action, but how important they are. So like, even in my course, the very first starting point with all of my students is, before we even start with the branding, is we start with mission and vision and values. But I would call it the I Believe manifesto, because so many mission and visions, they sound like total BS. Yeah. But that is such an important, but it's not. No, you like them to really reflect you. But sometimes people think, they need to be like very flowery,
aspirational,
and it's not like that. So yeah, but really be thinking about like, what are my core values? So like, my core values are communication. Like, that's number one. So I was very, very clear about that. And then being able to ask questions of somebody, like, tell me about a time like when something went completely sideways and you had to tell your client about that. So now I understand like how fearless are they, like how comfortable they are. Yeah. And I'm working with somebody. Yeah. And I'm working with somebody from another culture too. So I want to make sure that they feel because I realize like Americans, we are a lot more like open than a lot more effusive, I would say, than a lot of other cultures too. And so I really want
100%.
this person to feel comfortable, like coming to me and asking questions, and sometimes like, that's probably my biggest, like, I had a VA who was just so afraid
and that's a really important one, right? For somebody that is still maybe developing companies, most small business owners, we haven't developed all our processes yet. We haven't created a procedure for everything yet. And let's be honest out there, this is going to make Heather's head hurt. We haven't all written down our core values, our mission, and our vision statement. But we know it's in there, right? So we can pull that stuff out, right? So you've got an idea. We know it's in there. And so it's okay to not have that stuff done, but you do need to understand, right? And so to my point, I'm glad it's working for you, but for a lot of people, hiring outside of your time zone is hugely challenging. Now, if you're hiring somebody that's doing copy that can be emailed and reviewed at a later time, that's totally unlikely to create a lot of chaos, except for your team meetings when you want everybody all hands on deck. But we'll talk about that a different day, right? So, but an assistant usually needs to be on your same time zone, and they have to be well able to be awake, aware, and functioning in a full capacity. Otherwise, they're not able to assist you on a regular basis, right? They're not present and available when you are present and available. And so I think business owners forget to think about themselves and understand that the companies that are hugely successful, that really truly scale teams and growth and profits, have people that are in full alignment and they have figured that magic out. And so whether that was through luck or an organizational structuring consultant they brought in, it's just really knowing that nobody's getting on the train unless they really are going to bring success to me. And I have to know what success, I'm the decider. I define success for my company. I know what it needs to look like. I know what it needs to sound like. And until I can get it documented and down, nobody else can repeat it. So just even getting the job descriptions and employment ads written correctly for what success looks like, you just can't write those until you've defined success. We gotta sit down and know what's going to work in this. oh, well, we know they did a good job.
Right. Well, and that's how you can hire. One of the best things, like I worked at a cool company that just for a variety of reasons no longer exists. Just like breaks my heart. But it was a really, really cool organization. And one of the things that we were really good about is because we did have a really clear culture. We were disciples of Jim Collins, Good to Great.
Yeah.
You know, the book, like you're on the bus if you're off the bus. And so we were really big into that book. And so you could almost tell like immediately when people came on board, like whether or not they were going to like it. And either they were going to, most people like self-selected out if they didn't like the culture, which is the power of a really strong culture. But one of the things that I really love about your methodology is sometimes like you hire for fit and culture because you know that person is going to succeed in a role too. And this allows you to sort of roll the dice with a fit hire who can maybe grow into a different position too. Like, I just think it helps to create a lot more certainty.
Well, and the truth of the matter is that most hires are going to stay with us for 18 to 36 months. And I know that just broke a lot of hearts out there. Yes, if you're successful, you will always need to be hiring and managing people. That's the dream, whether you know it's part of the dream or not.
Right.
So if we can get comfortable with that, then we have to get more effective hires in. And there's a lot of small business owners that believe that their calling includes mentoring and teaching, and that's possible, but is that your business model? Because if you are sacrificing, I know. Snap. Is it your business model to build a career for the people you are hiring? Because that's what you're doing. You're paying someone and you're stopping yourself from doing other things so you can teach them how to have a job, which I promise you, they will be leaving in 18 to 36 months. It does not matter how great a boss you are. Today's society does not reward or look for tenure like that. Don't invest in gold watches.
No.
And it's okay. You want that for them. You want them to get the next opportunity. But that means those 18 months, they got to be really, really effective because I still need my business to grow. And if I'm taking 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to train somebody before I'm getting the result that I needed on day one when I hired, I've kept my business stuck. And so now we are losing money, opportunity, that, market share that we're trying to get for. We are just not getting there. And so I tell our clients, they should be able to do 80 to 100% of the job within 60 days. And if not, that is not the right hire.
Amazing. I love that. And we're talking a lot about team, but this also works beautifully for vendors too. So I don't have a team. Like I have a team of like contractors that I work with. So it is, you're right. But being able to use this is also, and I love it too, because vendors for sure make a promise and this really holds their feet to the fire. Because sometimes you hire somebody and they do not deliver, that's the management framework, right? So that's the other side of our bossification system is the management frameworks, where we understand how to use meetings and communication styles to make sure that people understand, hey, wait, this is the issue we're having. This is what we agreed. Why isn't it happening? And how to get more comfortable in those places, just saying, hey, you agreed to work with us for this money and we will give you this money, but we're not getting the other side of it. What are you going to change to make that happen? Because otherwise we can't continue. It's no longer a conditional relationship, right? I'm not getting what I need. And so it's just stepping business owners more into a process behind it. So we get ahead of the emotions and the drama. Right. So can you tell me either within your own business or one of your clients' business, like the best story of like bad team to good team to like absolutely like life-saving
Oh my gosh. Well, I can tell you, I don't think we're going to use their stories, but I'm going to tell you some examples of, again, that second in command hire is super, super critical. And this is what we've learned is, we've had people come to us after a second in command has poisoned the team and stolen half of them and become a competitor. We've had second in commands that come in, build a whole team around their idea, which is totally misaligned to the CEO business owner's idea, and ruined reputations and lost all the business. So they had to start over from scratch. So that
has happened to a couple of friends of mine too, like that they hired somebody to help them,
and they hand it over. They don't oversee it.
And and they hand it over because we're told, trust the people you hire. If it's not your area of
Trust but
expertise, like
verify.
let them fly.
It's not true trust if I can't check on it, right? It's trust but
I love
verify.
that.
Yes, I trust that you're going to do what you
I love
said
that.
after I've gone through a vetting process. But even if we're hiring somebody to handle
Right.
managing and hiring, you still have to be involved in that because you have to tell them what your team looks like so they build that team. And then you have to continually go back and say, how is the team going? Where is the alignment with this? Where is the alignment with that? Right? Am I experiencing it when I walk out on the floor or when I'm on our team calls? How is this person? And we can be in front of the misfires beforehand, but when we hand over the managing and the hiring, we have a tendency to think, now I don't have to think about it. And that is absolutely true if you are planning to walk away from the business, but just sell it instead of letting them run it their own way. Because if you really bring in somebody to handle the team and you don't want anything to do with that person's management of that team, you might as well sell your company because the team is where you will find success. A boss gives them the tools. The team builds success. You have to make sure that you're at least involved in influencing and helping the manager build your team.
Right. Oh my gosh. So I feel like I just got a mini MBA in
that's
hiring strategy and organizational psychology.
Is we have so many people come through our system, our programs and our work with us that have MBAs, and they're like, I don't know why they don't teach this. They don't teach anything about hiring or how to manage. They teach leadership, which is a part of it, but that is not actually how to do the job with the people side of business.
Right, exactly. I know it's so the things that you do not know. I just remember when I was promoted to managing people, my boss would give everybody, if you were a first-time manager, she would give you the book by Marcus Buckingham.
Break All the Rules.
Break All the Rules.
Yeah.
Which is a great book. Yeah, because it's like, and basically the whole premise is don't hire, like, don't try to, when you're trying to develop people, like, don't try to don't try to fill in what's missing, because getting the good stuff is a big enough job to begin with. And one of the things that I did, and it's interesting, my kids are both like early in their career. So they have like really young managers, and I see like a lot of these young managers making the same mistake, which is like, the most powerful thing from that book that I just has always stayed with me is there are many paths to get to the finished product. Yours is not the only way. And then your timeline is also not the same. Like, cause I'm a really fast worker, so I can do stuff blazing fast. And my team's like, does she expect that from me? And I don't. But I do expect, you to do what you said you were going to do, and you said you were going to do it. And so, but I just think that that's like, just everything I'm just like, so
I love this.
I know.
I'm like, let's talk more with Heather because she's on board. Well, and so I didn't really give you my success story. Is it okay if I do that real fast? So I literally got off a call with this client. This client's been working with us, the CEO and the COO, for about 3 months. Literally got off the call before I came onto this interview with you. And so they were overwhelmed. They had a second in command that was completely underserving, avoiding, and even just, saying, nope, you're wrong, to the CEO, who's like, what? I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that. Now, to your point of cultures, this person comes from a culture where you're not supposed to push back. It's rude. And the CEO was very focused on, how do I not I want to make sure they save face, even if I have to fire someone, and I don't know how to do that. So it was about shifting her understanding of what's acceptable in the business world and giving her language and practice space to have those conversations. But more importantly, it was just opening up their knowledge base to the idea of what a successful hire was. They were working with another company that was placing someone for them in a manager role, and they weren't vetting for hiring or team management supervision experience. And I was like, please, everybody, a manager is not somebody that's good at the job. It's somebody that has experience managing and or hiring, depending on the role, and how to inspire inspire, mentor, and hold accountable, right? They weren't even looking for that piece. So we were able to get in there, make sure that our new manager that was coming in before they started with us, that we weren't in charge of that part, but it's just the education that we have to take the time. So in 3 months, we let go of a person that was no longer effective. We repositioned another person by a split out of workflows to allow the person who had been with the company for a long time to be successful, and hired a new person who had stronger skills in other organization and team management. Then we hired a total of 3 people in a 1 month span, and they're like, it is literally like night and day. They had their first quarterly meeting in the new management structures, and the CEO literally was bouncing off the chair. She was so freaking excited because she's all like, holy cow, this is like what I always thought it could be, but I just thought I would never be able to do it.
Was it Rhonda?
No,
was it Rhonda?
It's a different person. Not my bouncing person.
Was it Rhonda?
Yes, I inspired bouncing. I didn't catch, Heather.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just the joy. Seriously, the joy becomes physical because we carry the stress of the team on our shoulders and in our being. And so once that lightens up and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I imagined being a business owner could be like. I just have to be stronger about who's right for the team, hold the boundaries, and really demand the expectation that, look, I said I'll pay you this, but you got to do your side too. And that's just after 3 months, and we still have 3 months on the engagement, and they're going to scale and grow. It's going to be amazing. And, but that's our success story.
I love that. Oh, I love that. Talmar, if people want to work with you, or they're just like, I really need some help with my hiring and just how to do it right. Like, how do they get
oh my gosh, I love that. So the easiest way to find us is that I think it's going to be to go to Zoom with Talmar, ZOOM with TALMAR.com. And you'll see that there's a place where you can set up a one-on-one to better understand what's perfect for you. We'll have some opt-in options and some stuff about what's upcoming. But our social media is all Your Boss HQ. So whether you're following us on Insta or LinkedIn or wherever, the thing to remember is that, it doesn't have to be so hard. You can learn it. We can build it for you and deliver it within 60 days. There's lots of opportunities, but being the boss of the right team is the exciting, it is the dream, and it doesn't have to be hard. And we tend to struggle through the pain too long.
Right. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This is Party.
Thank you
so much, Talmar.